Hi everyone, my name is Chaitni and I am a mindset and nutrition coach. In this week's wellness video, I'll be sharing more about how healthy are these so-called healthy snacks. So you know the labels, you know the ones that say organic, all natural, no sugar added, 0 calories, so on and so forth. You know, they all have the right buzzwords, but are they actually healthy for your body and your mind? So that is what we'll be discussing. A lot of times having these alternatives instead of the actual whole foods that we find at the grocery stores seem to be the go-to option if you're busy and if you're running around and trying to get everything done. Regardless, you should be aware and you should be knowledgeable about what you're eating and whether it's actually good for your body or not. So in this video, I'll be sharing 5 ways that you can start to determine whether these so-called healthy snacks are actually healthy for you or not. So way number 1, something to keep in mind is that the ingredients are a dead giveaway. So take some time to read the ingredients on the back of whatever packaging that you purchase. The reason being that a lot of times, in order to make the product still taste good and sell it as a healthy option, what the companies are doing is substituting the unhealthy ingredients with other alternatives. However, these alternatives are not necessarily healthy for your body and mind. So a good tip to remember when you look at the ingredients is if you can pronounce the ingredients and there are only about 2 or 3 ingredients listed, it probably is a pretty healthy snack. But more than 5 ingredients and majority of them you can't even pronounce, that's a major red flag. So just to give you an example, when you have Coke Zero or some kind of Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, and it says 0 calories and it doesn't have any sugar to it, well, to still make it tasty, they have to add a substitute. And it is that substitute that can be extremely harmful for your health as well as your overall health, so your body and your mind. Now, the second thing to keep in mind is that these snacks or these foods and beverages are still heavily processed. What I mean by that is, for example, healthy chips. They could be apple chips, kettle chips, avocado chips, whatever you want to call them. These don't appear in their natural form. They have still been taken from an ingredient that is grown pretty naturally, whether it's a potato or, it's tomatoes if it's veggie chips, or spinach, everything in its natural form, and it's heavily manipulated and it's heavily processed to turn it into a sellable product that you can just pick off the shelf. And if you notice, most of these have a pretty long shelf life. So they do have a lot of preservatives added to them in order to extend that shelf life. So it doesn't matter, if the labels say all natural, non-GMO, 0 calories, cooked in olive oil, whatever that is, the product has been heavily manipulated for it to taste a certain way and for it to last for as long as it does. Now, the third thing to keep in mind, and this is where it gets very tricky, you could look at the list of ingredients, so you could look at the nutrition label, and everything seems to check the box of healthy. However, always look at the sodium content. What you'll notice with most processed foods and most packaged foods, the sodium content is extremely high. And what this does is it kind of sets your taste buds off. And it's almost like a drug. The more you eat something with high sodium content, the more you crave for that kind of food. So even if you're having a healthy bag of chips, whatever that might be, or you're thinking, you're having some other healthy snacks, some crackers, check the sodium content, because what that's going to do is it's going to, get you to crave even more of that kind of food. And that's what leads to overeating and eating some of the other junk food. So something very important to keep in mind is to look at the sodium content. Now, the fourth thing to keep in mind is moderation. So what happens, when you start to eat something healthy, or when you think something is healthy, you might automatically have more of it than you need to, than your body even needs to consume. And that's when, again, you get into overeating and eating more than you really should be consuming. So the key always is moderation. Even if you're enjoying apples, having 5 apples a day is not the way you want to go. So when something is labeled as healthy or considered a healthy snack, it could just be trail mix or a bunch of nuts that you're eating. Again, they need to be had in moderation. But if your brain has been tricked to think this is healthy, you might have more than you really should be having. So there's more input of energy than output, and ultimately that leads to weight gain, and more importantly, it could lead to other chronic diseases and health issues. So when you see that something is healthy and it's really mislabeled, honestly, for consumerism, you should be mindful of that. Moderation is important. Again, like the example I gave, even if you're eating apples, 5 apples a day is not normal. That is not how your body works. That is not how we are meant to function. Now, the last thing to keep in mind is the cost of eating these supposedly healthy foods. What happens in this situation is you lose out on the actual healthy meals that you could be having. So let me give you an example. You might be in a rush and you just quickly want to get something in your belly, but you want it to be healthy, and maybe you reach for a protein bar. Well, a healthier alternative to that heavily processed protein bar is having actual protein. So even having sauteed tofu or tempeh or home cooked lentils will give you more nutrients, more minerals, more vitamins than that protein bar is going to give you. So you are sacrificing the healthier option for an option that has been marketed to be healthy but is not necessarily healthy. You might do the same thing with a beverage. You might have a store-bought orange juice instead of actually having an orange or a pineapple or watermelon. Actually having the fruit, it does for your body a lot more than just having prepackaged juices. So you have to be mindful of that. When you start to opt for these pseudo-healthy snacks, you are taking away from eating the healthier options, the home-cooked meals, the full meals that actually give you a whole spectrum of wealth that your body needs. So let me quickly wrap it up for you, because I know that was a lot of information. As you look at these healthy snacks, the next time you go grocery shopping or you're purchasing something online, food related, beverage related, look at these 5 items. Think of these before you hit the purchase button, or before you give your credit card, or before you give that cash to purchase your groceries. So the first thing is read the ingredients. And the best way to remember this is, does a watermelon really have ingredients listed on it? No. So anything that is packaged, check out the ingredients because they are always a dead giveaway. The second thing to remember is that these snacks are still processed. They have still been manipulated to taste a certain way, to look a certain way, and to last a certain way. So if you see a pretty long expiration date or a pretty long shelf life, that should be a red flag in itself. And it doesn't matter at that point if it's a protein bar or if it's a no sugar drink that you're consuming. Something else to keep in mind is the sodium content. When you look at that list of ingredients, or really when you look at the nutrition label, take a look at the sodium. How much sodium is there in this food? And even if you just want to experiment and try it out for fun, see what happens, because most of the time when you eat something that has such high sodium in it, you're going to end up craving more of that kind of food. So be mindful of the sodium content. Remember, the next thing is, remember, moderation is key. Even with these snacks, just because they're healthy doesn't mean you eat more than you need to, because there will be repercussions to it. And something like this can easily become a habit. So definitely watch out for that. And then the last thing to keep in mind is, as you eat these pseudo-healthy snacks, think about the sacrifices that your body is making. Is this really the food that your body craves? Are you having this instead of a hearty, whole, home-cooked meal? And if that's the case, then it's time to change some things around. So, mainly this video is not to shame you. It's because everybody does it. I've done it. When you're super busy, you buy some products off the shelf and, you stuff them in your pantry. So that is not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to make you aware and to educate you that everything you see doesn't need to be believed. These marketing gimmicks are great. They can fool the best of us, the healthiest of us. So just take a second and be aware of the labels. Just because it has the buzzwords doesn't mean it's necessarily healthy. What I'm trying to do here is encourage you to do your research, to do your homework, to be educated, and to be aware of the choices that you're making, and making sure that you're aware of those choices, and hopefully they're the best choices for your health. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope the next time you buy groceries or you're just grabbing something from the pantry, you take a second and look at the nutrition label and check out the ingredients. As always, I am very grateful for your support, and if you want to learn more about how I help my clients and help them on their health journey, check out my website. It's www.imperfectbodies.com. In the meantime, I hope you have a fabulous week, and I will catch you here next week. Take care.